All right, it's Thursday, December 5th, 2024, and President Donald Trump has just successfully defunded the Ukraine war. This is huge news. Joe Biden reportedly livid. This is happening now, right now. We have the details. And Joe Biden about to pardon Anthony Fauci and others who committed crimes over the last 8 years, maybe even earlier. This would go down as the worst decision a president has ever made. And great news on the Hill yesterday after yesterday's roller coaster with Trump's Secretary of Defense pick. It looks like Pete Hegseth may have made major progress on the Hill, flipping almost every single Republican to a yes vote. This could be big news. So why are these Republican senators so quiet then? Why haven't they come out publicly and stated this? We have the details. But before we get started, thank you for liking and sharing these videos. It really helps out the channel. And consider subscribing so you don't miss these regular updates. President Trump has already defunded the Russia-Ukraine war, and he's not even in office yet, hasn't even been sworn in. This is huge news. Speaker Johnson was asked yesterday in a press conference if he was going to approve the $20 billion that Joe Biden's demanding Congress pass. Speaker Johnson said no. Absolutely not, he said. He will not be approving another cent in Ukraine funding. Not this $20 billion, not $5 billion, not even a dollar. Because it's not the place of Joe Biden to do this anymore. Speaker Johnson says he's taking direction from our new president, our president Donald Trump, because no one's listening to Biden. Trump is in the driver's seat. He's making major progress in taking this war and putting it to an end. Look at what he said. Watch this.
Ukraine $24 billion. Are you planning to do that? What is your position?
I'm not planning to do that. There are developments by the hour in Ukraine. I think, as we predicted, and as I said to all of you weeks before the election, if Donald Trump is elected, it will change the dynamic of the Russia war on Ukraine. And we're seeing that happen. So it is not the place of Joe Biden to make that decision now. We have a newly elected president, and we're going to wait and take the new commander-in-chief's direction on all of that. So I don't expect any Ukraine funding to come up.
And this is what we've been hearing for weeks, by the way, that Trump's been working behind the scenes, holding these secret meetings with EU countries, with Zelensky, with our State Department even, with the Russians, to roll out this major peace plan. We talked about it last week. And the first step is to secure a ceasefire. And since this statement yesterday at that press conference, the office of the Speaker, Speaker Johnson's office, put out an official statement as well, saying that the U.S. Congress will not be listening to the Biden administration on Ukraine anymore. Why they listen to him at all, I have no idea, saying that he's not in the driver's seat. Donald Trump is, and he's making progress. They're going to be waiting for Trump's direction on how to move forward. In another story, the fallout in D.C. continues after Joe Biden pardoned his son, Hunter, a few days ago. Democrats scattering, trying like hell to avoid answering questions on this. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer being lambasted at the podium on Tuesday, refusing to answer any questions about Biden's pardon. Watch this.
Questions? Yes, Bolton.
Do you agree with some of your Democrat colleagues who say that President Biden's pardon of Hunter Biden was wrong or unwise, puts personal interest ahead of duty?
I got nothing for you on that.
Can I follow up on that? Are you concerned with the lack of transparency, lack of honesty around Biden's decision to pardon?
As I said, I got nothing for you on that. Nope. Gonna s-
that pardoning anyone on the way out of office, family members, sets a poor precedent.
Thank you. I've got nothing for you on that.
But the question is, they've talked about January 6th pardons. This is a playbook for incoming President Trump. Isn't this a problem? Did he not establish a bad precedent for pardons?
I got nothing for you on that. Any other subjects?
And Joe's not done. Politico is reporting that Joe's team is making a list of the other Democrats who may have committed crimes over the last 8 years to provide a blanket pardon to them as well. This is crazy. It's nuts. These are the people who told us for years that nobody's above the law, who targeted, who harassed Donald Trump and all of his friends and allies. They investigated them. They charged, arrested Rudy Giuliani, Roger Stone, Steve Bannon. I could go on and on. There's dozens of them, literally dozens of people who the Biden DOJ arrested, sent to prison for these stupid procedural crimes. political crimes. That's what this was, political persecution. They weaponized the Justice Department, and now they're scared of the consequences. And you know they're serious about this when they send out Senator Chris Murphy. He's one of the oiliest politicians on the Hill. Senator in Connecticut, very looped-in guy. He goes on MSNBC last night and gives us a preview of how they're planning on spinning this, testing the waters to see the public reaction. Watch.
I think the fact that they have to have that discussion says everything about Kash Patel and Donald Trump's nominees. There is no reason why any president must consider preemptive pardons because the incoming administration has made it so clear that they will go after political adversaries, and Kash Patel has been incredibly vocal about that. And I hope that the Senate Republicans, who know Joe Biden very well and know he would not take something like this lightly, really consider the fact that that's even part of this discussion about Kash Patel. He is unqualified. He is unhinged. He has made it very clear that he is out for retribution. He is sending cease and desist letters and lawsuits. This is a dangerous person to head up our top law enforcement agency. And just the fact that this is even part of the conversation says everything that the Senate Republicans should need to hear.
You can't make this up. And guess whose names are on this list? Anthony Fauci, Adam Schiff, Liz Cheney, just to name a few. This would be a major mistake, a real big mistake if Joe Biden does this. And I think there's a good chance he's going to. Look, Hunter's pardon didn't bother me. I expected it. Backdating the pardon to 2014, that just proved everything we've been saying about the Bidens for years. But Anthony freaking Fauci, let's never forget what this man did, folks. We have the evidence. The evidence is on video from 2016. Right after Trump won in 2016, was sworn into office, Anthony Fauci, he came out and said this, a very strange and very prescient warning he had to the newly elected president, Donald Trump. Roll the tape.
If there's one message that I want to leave with you today, based on my experience, and you'll see that in a moment, is that there is no question that there will be a challenge to the coming administration in the arena of infectious diseases, both chronic infectious diseases in the sense of already ongoing disease, and we have certainly a large burden of that, but also there will be a surprise outbreak.
In another story, Trump's Secretary of Defense pick, Pete Hegseth, he spent all day yesterday in Washington, D.C., meeting with each and every Republican senator on the Judiciary Committee. Trump telling Hegseth yesterday morning, I have your back. I am with you 100%.
How's it going with Trump right now? Is he so far standing by you, and have you spoken to him?
I spoke to him this morning, Megan. I mean, he's amazing. He's a fighter. He's been through this himself, and he told me the last thing he said to me, well, two things he said to me when I left his office when he chose me, was, well, besides what he said about being a warfighter, we can get into that, was you're going to need to be tough as shit. You're going to need to be tough as shit. But he paused again as I was walking away and said, but you're the man for this moment. I chose you because you're the guy that's going to put the warfighters first. We haven't had that. We need a guy that's kicked down doors and understands the consequences of war and why us deterring war, fighting it, and winning it is important to him. He gets it. And we can get into the policy of all of that. But ultimately, he reiterated the same thing this morning. Hey, Pete, I got your back. It's a fight. They're coming after you. Get after it.
Well, we have good news. The New York Post reporting last night that all they say Republican senators are now supporting Pete Hegseth's nomination for Secretary of Defense. That would be huge. I have no idea what he did yesterday, but good for Pete. I couldn't be happier for him. Pete is salt of the earth, good people. He served in combat. He served his country. And all the nonsense we've been hearing for the last few weeks, it's just circular reporting, folks, by these resistance reporters trying to kill his nomination. Pete says himself that there's little kernels of truth in there, but that's all they are. Kernels, very small little things that these reporters grab onto. They turn them into huge stories, all anonymous sourcing. We saw them do the same thing to Brett Kavanaugh. It's the same playbook. They use it every single time. And these Republican senators, what they do is they latch onto that reporting to give them an out to vote no. Now, I'm not sure how solid this reporting is. Publicly, these Rhino senators are still not committing to a yes vote. For example, here's Joni Ernst this morning saying she is not voting yes yet on Pete Hegseth. And look, Joni Ernst, by the way, she's been putting her name out there as a Hegseth replacement. She wants this job. It's unbelievable. Roll the tape.
Okay, it doesn't sound on your answer that you've gotten to a yes. If I'm wrong about that, correct me. And if that is the case, it sounds to me as if the hearing will be critical for his nomination. Am I right about that?
I think you are right. I think for a number of our senators, they want to make sure that any allegations have been cleared, and that's why we have to have a very thorough vetting process. And that's why I was happy to sit down with Pete and have that conversation with him yesterday. So again, all I will say at this time is that we did have a very thorough discussion over a number of those issues, and the vetting will continue, I am certain, through the next month or so until we approach that hearing.
Joni Ernst is from Iowa. I don't know any other good MAGA people in Iowa. I'm sure there's tons of them. I just don't know any, but we need anyone to primary this lady. Then Lindsey Graham, who came out and said yes immediately to Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, but still hasn't confirmed he's going to vote yes on Pete. Here's what Lindsey said last night about it, saying all the right things publicly, but doing the opposite privately. Watch.
I've known Pete for a long time. I served with him in Afghanistan. The people over there said nothing but great things about him. The allegations against Pete are all anonymous sources. I am not going to make any decision based on an anonymous source. If you're not willing to raise your hand under oath and make the accusation, it doesn't count. I've heard everything about all these people. None of it counts. No rumors, no innuendo. But
you were there for the Kavanaugh hearings.
I've seen this movie before.
And Lindsey Graham's apparently been urging other Republicans not to come out publicly and commit to Hegseth until they receive an FBI background check on him. He's one of these Rhino Republicans who pushed and pressured Trump into these FBI background checks, saying first that he only had to do it just for Hegseth, but now they're pushing him to do it for all of his picks. It's ridiculous.